Well, hello Cleveland County again. I am Deborah Blanton, host of the Cleveland County Kitchen Show, and I am here today with Pat Farley. And Pat, I want to thank you for bringing us back to Cooperative Extension's kitchen. Haven't been here in a year and a half for various and sundry reasons, but we're here and we're going to be doing a little cooking besides learning about how to preserve apples or anything else you want to dehydrate. So Pat, here's our wonderful machine, and if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, first of all, I'm Pat Farley and I'm president of ECA.
And hold on.
Okay.
ECA means?
Extension Community Agent.
Extension Community Agent. I'm so glad you said that because I couldn't remember it. So she is president, which means she knows what she's doing.
I've been with Cooperative Extension for a little over 10 years as the president, and I've worked real closely with Nancy, our county agent, and helping to learn how to preserve our food supply for healthier eating for Cleveland County. And I have been dehydrating foods for probably 30, 40 years. And some years ago, I was able to get the electric dehydrators instead of putting it on screens outside.
Oh, and I know that's how they used to do it.
Yes.
My Aunt Johnny would put a tray of apples in the back end of her car where the sun could come in. That so the bugs didn't get it, but
Right.
it did the same thing, but it took a whole lot longer, I would imagine.
Right. And so basically for dehydrating anything is you're just taking the water content out of it. And once the water content is out of it and it is completely dry, you can preserve it and put it like in a glass jar and put it in a dark, cool place, and you can have it for whenever.
And preserve it forever.
Right. And basically, when people ask me, how long do I dry stuff? I don't know how long you dry stuff. Everything is different. Every fruit is different. It depends on the weather. And all I know is that you need to dry it until it
Makes a noise.
makes a noise, and it's really dry, and you're sure that all of the content is out of it. You cannot get it too dry. If you leave it not dry enough, it will mildew and it will ruin. So the better off you are is as dry as absolutely as possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look inside the dehydrator, Pat.
And the best thing to do and not use any preservatives with drying to keep the color is have your trays and have your electric dehydrator on, have it heated and ready to go. And when you put your fruit on the trays, put them in there immediately, and then that way they won't turn real dark. If you leave an apple out, everybody knows that it turns dark, but if you do that, you don't have to use preservatives. The less preservatives you have, the less chemicals in our body, and the cheaper it is to prepare.
That's great. That's great. Now we have a screen right here, and it's just more of like just a plastic netting that we've laid on this. And Pat's going to demonstrate about how we do an apple.
Okay, first of all, these, you can purchase the dehydrators online or through some of the hardware stores. They are the little round cheap ones that you can get at the box stores.
Yeah, but Pat,
Okay.
yeah, we're gonna cut
Okay.
an apple
What I
just to
do
be
is-
sure we know how to do this.
The way I've learned to do it years and years ago from my parents is you just cut it in quarters, and then you take out the core like so. Make sure you get out all the hard core, and then you just peel it.
Now, aren't there apple cores and peelers?
Yes, but nothing works like a knife in your hand. All that stuff is just junk as far as I'm concerned. And it's
She's the old-timey, how to do it.
and so you do 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, slice it thin,
Oh my goodness, girl.
and what you do then is you just put them out like this in a tray because you don't want them piled up, because you have them piled up, they're not going to dry.
Now, these apples are fairly local. Everybody knows that you get the best apples from Hendersonville. I believe there are some farmers at our Cleveland County Farmers Market that gets apples from the Hendersonville region, but it's just a well-known area to get apples. Plus, we also have our, what is it up there at Toluca?
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek. Knob Creek has apples for sale.
Jeffrey Protz's
Thank you.
inherited from his grandfather.
Yes, yes. And they have apples which are locally grown here in Cleveland County. So there should be a plethora of apples this year, with as a good a season as there has been. And how nutritious apples are.
Okay, do you want to talk about the nutritious now?
I think that's a great idea, Pat. Thank you.
Why don't you read that?
I will do that. Thank you. Dried fruit contains concentrated amounts of fiber, minerals, vitamins, much more than fresh fruits. Dehydrating fruits while in season can provide a healthy way to add fruits to your daily diet during off-season. Dehydrating preserves food while it's in season to feed your family. You can freeze it, you can can it, and you can dehydrate it. If you have a power failure, think about this, we could have that this time, either with hurricanes or winter storms. Power could go out, you've still got apples, even in a preserved form.
And if you, as soon as you fill your tray, go ahead and put it in here, because if you do, then it will start turning dark, and you don't, like I said before, you don't have to use any preservatives. That means you have less chemicals in your food, and it's a whole lot less expensive. And who knows what chemicals will do to our body till we figure it out 10 years from now.
Well, we don't want to think about that, Pat. Oh, actually, though, I guess we should.
All natural as much as possible with food preservation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
With Mother Nature and the sun and electricity.
That sounds good. Well, wonderful. Well, stay tuned, stand by. We are going to do some amazing things with these dehydrated apples.
Here in Cleveland County, many children struggle to develop due to the lack of guidance and shortage of positive role models. At the Boys and Girls Club, we make it our team's mission to aid your child in becoming a better student and, more importantly, a better person with a brighter future.
When your child comes to the club, you can be assured they are being guided in a manner that is beneficial to the growth as an adult that is visible in their lives. Please consider giving your child the opportunity to be the absolute best they can possibly be.
Please support your local Boys and Girls Club today.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bliss Carroll, your host for Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at Cleveland Community College. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other exciting campus news. We'll have a new show for you each month on C19 TV, or you can stream us online at c19.tv. Tune in and connect with Cleveland Community College on Cleveland Connections.
Thanks for staying with us. We've just started what to do with dehydrated apples. All right, Pat. In the interest of time, we did not demonstrate how to take the dried apples and make them liquid like you've got right there.
Right.
But let's explain the process.
Okay, I have a little there, if you'll read that.
Yeah, well, no, we're not going to read it, Pat. We're just,
Well, I mean, but,
or do you need it?
no, I don't. Okay, how to cook dehydrated apples. Okay, you take the dried apples, you put them in a pan or a pot, and you cover them with warm water, and you let them sit and soak for about 8 to 12 hours. And that way then they will be more plump like a regular slice of apple was before you dehydrate them.
Right.
After that, then you put them in a pot to put them on the stove to cook. You make sure that they're covered completely with water. You turn your burner on medium heat, not real high, and you simmer them for about 30 to 40 minutes to get them tender. When they're tender, they will be, you could take a fork and pick one up and it would just kind of fall apart.
Well, Pat, why don't you demonstrate with your stuff you've got right here?
And, okay, so then what I do is after that, then you put it in a bowl, and I take a potato masher and I mash up the slices.
Oh, no, that's a good clue,
And then
yes.
that way then you've sort of got like this.
Kind of like applesauce,
Kind of like applesauce.
which I guess you could use it like that as well.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
can use this for anything that you would use applesauce for, you can use this for. Okay. Now, what I do is I have come up with a little recipe years ago that if you use about 2 cups of the rehydrated apples that have been cooked and smashed up, you put in about 1/2 cup of sugar. But if you want to go all natural, you do not have to use sugar. If you are diabetic or want to use the artificial sweetener, you can use that according to your taste. And your choice of product.
And then use some cinnamon, what have you
Yes,
got
and
there,
then
nutmeg?
What I do is I use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and years ago I learned that if you use a little bit of vanilla flavor.
Oh, see, that's
in apples,
wonderful.
That kind of that ties in the flavor of all of it.
Oh, that's great.
And I use the pure vanilla because I go on international medical mission teams and I have access to get it without an arm and a leg.
Ah, well, good for you. Well, now let's make our crust.
Okay, but let me tell you one more thing. If you don't want to do all of this and you're a shopper and you like simple things, you can also buy something that's called apple pie spice. And with the apple pie spice, you could just use whatever amount of it that you want to make it taste of your choice.
Good.
Okay, so now
Okay.
what we do to make the pies is you can use
And this is, we're making a crust,
Yeah,
folks.
crust, you can-
And this is a great clue. You can use biscuits anytime, and I love you beat them. What you well, it's not popping like it's supposed to. But anyway, you can use this for any kind of pie that you'd like. Woo! There it goes. It did it. Good. Good job.
You can use any pie crust recipe that you prefer to use, but one quick and easy, and nowadays I've been trying to tell all the younger girls, you can do quick and easy cooking, and it's almost as good as grandma's, and if you don't tell anybody, they won't know the difference.
And
okay?
they might not care.
Right.
As long as the inside is good.
Right. You can buy the cheap little bitty size biscuits, and what you can do then is roll them out. If you don't want to buy the little bitty ones, you can buy the bigger grand biscuits, and you can pinch them in half, make a little ball, and what you do then is,
No, wait, so you have made a little ball.
just take the little biscuit
Okay, and that's just plain flour you
This is
put.
plain
And
old flour.
look at this cutting board, folks. We're getting in a close view of that. It's just like a little plastic thing. Easy to clean.
easy to clean, and you don't have to scrub it off the counter, off the cabinet.
Okay, so we're watching
So what I
somebody who's done this forever.
So what I do is I try to make a little round thing that's about 4
Oh, that
inches,
looks
about
good.
like that.
See how easy that does.
And what I do is I usually put in about 2 little scoops.
Let's move this so we can see it a little bit better.
Of apples, okay? And what you're doing is, some people make them kind of skimpy on the apples, but I figure if I'm going to eat an apple pie, I want to taste the apples. And so then all you do is bring the other half.
Oh, so and I'm sorry, you've put a glob of it
little
on
glob of it there.
on one half.
Uh-huh. And then you bring it over like this.
Okay. Oh, and now you're looking for your fork, aren't
Yeah.
you?
And then what you do is you got to crimp it like this so that it will stick together. And what I do is you can use any kind of cooking spray in your pan instead of grease. That way you don't have the cholesterol and you don't have the calories. So then all you do then is just pick your little pie up, and the reason that we bake them instead of frying them is because if they're fried, they have to be fried in grease. Everybody knows that fried bread tastes better than baked bread, but sometimes you just have to bite the bullet.
Well, now, and I'll tell you what, we're going to stop right here, Pat, because we're going to, our third segment of the show is where we're cooking it.
Want change? Like things the way they are? Use your rights and vote. Take a stand for your beliefs. Why wouldn't you vote? Don't make excuses. It's not every day you can take a stand on community, state, and national issues. Think your vote won't change anything? In 2008, only 3,632 votes separated the presidential race in the state of Missouri. 3,632. Every vote counts. Speak up. Only you can silence your voice. Go to your local polling place and be heard on this election day.
Someone once said that without music, life would be a mistake. And that's how we feel here on Face the Music. Hi, I'm Summer Castle-Keever, and I'd love for you to join me each month on our new program, Face the Music, which airs on C19 TV and C19.tv. Each month we'll highlight the talents, personalities, and stories behind some of the area's most gifted singers, songwriters, and musicians. It's going to be a lot of fun, so join me each month for a new edition of Face the Music right here on C19.
All right, thanks for being patient again, because I know you want to get to these fried apple pies. So we're just going to do a few more, and I'll tell you what, Pat, let's move those away so we can get the camera to get a close-in shot of what you're doing. Okay, so we've taken out our biscuit dough. We've got little bitty biscuits. We're ready to go. So Pat, let's do some more of this rolling out stuff.
And I just pat it down a little bit to get it started. Got to have a little bit of flour on each side.
Now that looks like, is that like white flour? What kind of flour are you using?
Just plain old white flour.
Oh, okay.
Just regular flour.
Okay.
And then you just kind of roll it one way, and then you have to pick it up and turn it around.
Right. And you know, if you do things like a fried apple pie, I've mentioned this to several of my friends. They don't even know what a fried apple pie is. And this goes back to ancient times, I would assume, here in North Carolina.
Yes.
Like 100 years ago, 150 years ago, more than that.
Right.
Because there were apples here, and people had to know what to do with the fruit or figure out what to do with the fruit to preserve it into winter.
Right.
So,
Okay, so after you rolled out your dough, then you just put a little dollop of apples here like this.
all right, and let's review again what's in this dollop of apple stuff.
Okay, it's the cooked apples that have been dehydrated and rehydrated, and we added the spices to it as we talked about before. A teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a teaspoon of vanilla, or you can use the allspice apple.
Right. But I love the vanilla part. Talk
Yeah.
about
The
vanilla.
Years ago, I learned from my parents that if you add vanilla to any of the fruit pies, it sort of ties in the flavor of the sugar and the fruit. Then you
In
got-
other words, bring in the real taste of what fruit you're putting in
Right.
the fried apple pie.
Right. The vanilla just kind of ties it all in together. So then you have to take a fork and crimp it like this, okay? Then you just pick it up, kind of dust off some of the extra flour, and then you put it right here like this.
Okay.
And then what I do is I re-crimp it just to make sure that I've got it in here good.
And that's so it doesn't leak out, I would assume.
Right. And so we're going to talk about why we're baking them instead of frying them.
Well, yeah, but not before I want to say something.
Okay.
The idea for this show came to me from Betsy Harnage, who is our Register of Deeds over at the Law Enforcement Center. I'm sorry, she's not. Well, she will be when we get all the new county complex done. I grow muscadines, and she said, bring me some muscadines and I'll dehydrate them for you. I said, whoa, what a wonderful idea. Think about this. I don't know if you've ever tried this. And so I bought her a bag of muscadines. I think it was a little more work than what she had anticipated because she didn't realize they had seeds. So I'm sure she split them, put the seeds out, and dehydrated them, and she gave them back to me the next day. So that sort of got me thinking, wow, I guess you can dehydrate anything. I know she does a lot of dehydration for her children of fruits of all different kinds, even pineapples. So here we go. Okay.
Okay, so then you just pick it up, pat it back and forth, dump off a little bit of the flour.
All right, so normally back in olden times, because they had grease, they had those iron skillets, and they would fry these things.
Because they didn't have an oven to bake it in.
That's right.
They cooked over a campfire.
Right, exactly. So we'll have time to do one more, and then we're going to put these in the oven. For your information, we have here in the Cooperative Extension's kitchen, we have 3 ovens. There's one over here, one behind me, and one right here. They've got how many microwaves? 2 microwaves. This is such a well-equipped kitchen that it's just a blessing to be able to use this. And I know the county commissioners several years ago did some refurbishing of this kitchen. This is not only used for the TV show, it's used in demonstrating all sorts of things, which I believe is what you do. Is that correct?
Yes, we do a lot of classes, and we do a class on the Mediterranean way of eating.
Yes.
And we also do junior chef camp for the 4-H children.
Okay, all right, we're going to be done. We got to crimp this, got to get it right so it doesn't goosh out. Okay, good job. All right, now hold on.
Wait a minute.
Okay, sorry. Too much fun. Oh, our sugar on top. Woo! And remember, to me they would taste good without any sugar because we're talking good apples. All right, Pat, if you want to open up. And here we go. Oh my, we've disappeared. Sorry about that.
And
I
bake mine at 350 for about 25 minutes. Every oven is different, so you need to bake them slow, but bake them until they're brown. Because the apples are already cooked, and if you bake them in a 350 oven until they're brown, then they will be done. And this is how.
Now, the miracle of TV and patience and figuring all this out. Here are our fried apple pies. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a bite out of this one right here. Be like when we were in the food truck.
Right.
This is like your grandmother made. Oh, Pat, they're wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Glad you watched. Happy month.